All right, it's time to call the meeting to order. If you would, please stand for the prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and all the many blessings. Lord, we thank you for All right, thank you, kids, for doing that. Thank you for doing that. Ms. Phyllis, can you do a roll call, please?
Alderman Clough. Alderman Dale.
Present.
Vice Mayor Dotson.
Here.
Alderman Elder.
Here.
Alderman Lankford.
Here.
Alderman Linder.
Here.
All present except Alderman Clough.
All present but one. Need a motion to approve the minutes for last month's meeting.
I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Alderman Bill Linder.
Second.
Second by Alderman Rex Dale. Any discussion? All for the motion, let it know by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion pass. I've got a couple of additions to the agenda. I need to add a small, quick program from the Arbor Day celebration kids as item number 10. Also add in, we got complete today the surplus sale. We add that as item 11. Performance services group with Brian Stone will be 5A. That'll be 5A right after the engineering report from Greg Davenport. I entertain a motion to add those to the agenda, please.
I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Vice Mayor Ken Dotson.
Second.
Second by Alderman Bill Linder. Any discussion? All for the motion, let it know by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. All right, motion pass. So we will add them to the agenda. First on the agenda tonight, there is no old business. New business, downtown revitalization, Mr. Ray Evans. Come on up, Ray.
Good evening, gents. Several things to discuss tonight. Catch up on several of our grant activities downtown, and then one additional item that is not related to downtown.
Ray, I'm sorry. Can I pause you for just a minute?
Yes, sir.
I'm supposed to I'm going to put these kids up here. That way they don't have to. This may be a little boring to them. Do you care to pause? No offense.
I'm not even remotely offended, Mayor.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a grand idea.
All right. Thank you. My apologies. I think the board will be okay with that. Girls, come on up. We've got just a Arbor Day program, and we've done this for many, many years. And go ahead and face the other way. And Miss Kim Kerr does this along with Bridget, and Rick McDonald's chairman, and There's several helping hands, and this is the first time we've done this, and I just want to thank all the parents that allowed their kids to come tonight. And they was a little iffy about it, but when I told them I'd buy them a blizzard, they all raised their hands. So, Ms. Curd, or girls, y'all can go ahead and start when you're ready. We'll try this again. Mr. Ray Evans, come on up. My apologies, Ray.
So you let me follow that, huh? Grant-wise, let me first start with our Main Street, Broad Street sidewalk project. We're actually making progress. We have agreements from all the property owners that we need to have temporary construction easements and a couple of permanent access easements, 15 in total. So we have agreements from those. The next step is to convert those agreements into easement deeds. The city attorney is working on that as we speak. As soon as we get those and get them to TDOT, we expect that we'll be given a notice to proceed with bidding the project. I'll just make a guess with you right now. Probably we would bid the project in June. We'd be finished before the end of the year. Next project, Courthouse Square, internal to the grounds of the courthouse. Our consultants are moving full speed with final construction documents on that project. Likewise, we expect that that will go well. There are no easements, none of those types of things in that project, so we'll get to skip that phase. And I suspect it will probably be out for bid about June on that project as well. South Church Street. Recall that we've had several meetings on South Church. We've discussed traffic flow. We've discussed parking. Our consultants finally got a good field survey completed. We understand exactly what the curb-to-curb widths that we have to work with. And we looked at numerous alternatives as to one-way flow, two-way flow, angled parking, parallel parking. And the easy conclusion was that we need to continue with two-way flow on South Church Street and have parallel parking on both sides. It was tight. We made it by inches in order to comply with design standards, but we're moving forward with a design that will facilitate two-way flow on South Church Street from the square down to Railroad and have parking, parallel parking on both sides of the road. Our consultants Friday submitted 30% design on that. We've made our comments. We are meeting in the morning with representatives of the Upper Cumberland Electric to sort out just a few odds and ends as to how they're going to be placed underground and how we're going to make certain ties, particularly important up around the post office. So I think that the plan right now with that consultant is that they would be submitting final construction documents to the Appalachian Regional Commission by the end of the month, and hopefully get concurrence from them shortly thereafter. So again, all these are moving forward very quickly. Chief Dials and I were talking about the application that we had made with TDOT for pedestrian signals around the square. That has sort of, in our opinion, dropped into a little bit of a black hole. We made it through the first couple of steps. They actually came to Livingston and looked at the conditions, looked at the control box. We sent them construction documents as to where we already had underground conduit for these pedestrian signals. Had expected to hear something back from them, but now one way or the other. And Mayor, unless you have, we haven't heard anything. So we'll reach out to TDOT and see where that stands here shortly. Lastly, unrelated to downtown, a month or so ago, we made an application to the Tennessee Valley Authority through their TVA Invest Prep program to do some significant improvements to the last remaining lot in the city's industrial park. Recall that we've got about a 14.4 acre tract there. We think that probably 10 or 11 of that is truly developable. But we have applied to TVA through their Invest Prep grant program to do what's called due diligence studies. We do a phase 1 environmental assessment. We'll do the historic analysis. We'll do rare and endangered species and such. But we'll also prepare construction documents and move forward with construction of a 100,000 square foot pad for an industrial site, as well as a parking lot for about 100 vehicles. We went through the second phase of that process this afternoon, in that we were interviewed by TVA and their consultants for about 20 minutes or so. Actually feel relatively optimistic after that presentation today. We'll know within the next 2 weeks whether or not we're going to move on with the next step in that process, and that would be that TVA and their consultants would actually come to Livingston and look at the community and look at the site, and then decide whether they want to fund our project or not. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Next, Ms. Cantrell, do you have anything?
No.
Okay. All right. Item number 2 would be Airport, Mr. Jason Duke.
Pleased to present to you, after many years of wanting to do this, an operations agreement between the city and the county for operation of the airport. In the past, the county has provided funds for anything from utilities to basic needs at the airport to assist the city. This is a 12-year agreement which codifies that agreement between the city and the county, where the city and the county will share operating expenses at 50% on the airport. The city still provides the 2 employees at the airport. The city maintains the revenue from the airport, which is fuel sales and hangar rent, to help pay for the employees. This gives a new airport board formation, would be 9 people. It would be the mayor or a designee and an alderman from the city. It would be the county executive or designee and a county commissioner from the county. It would be the Chamber of Commerce director, and then it would be 2 people nominated by the mayor and 2 people nominated by the county executive, which would make 9. The chairperson would be elected from the 9, and that person will not be voting unless there's a tie. This would pretty much cover everything except for our projects. And our projects coming up now, Josh is here from Barge to talk about the fencing project, and then we have the fuel farm relocation coming up for next year, so those are separate from the agreement. Those are still shared as they have been in the past.
Thank you. I just want to say that we have worked very closely with County Executive Barlow and the attorney for the county, Ms. Leland Sells. Andre Grippin, our attorney, we've all met and we came to this agreement. We met today with the Overton County Budget Committee, and it passed unanimously in the Budget Committee of Overton County. Their next step will be taking it to the governing body of Overton County Commissioners. So that's where we are. And I just need a motion to approve this agreement.
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Vice Mayor Ken Dotson. Is there a second? Second by Alderman Bruce Elder. Any discussion? Any questions? Roll call, Ms. Phyllis.
Alderman Langford.
Yes.
Alderman Elder.
Yes.
Alderman Dale.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dotson.
Yes.
Alderman Linder.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Motion passed. Okay. Barge, come on up. I can't remember his name. I said Barge, but go ahead and state your name.
There we go. Thank you. Josh Abramson with Barge Design Consultants. And yeah, I was asked to come up and talk a little bit about the property fence reconstruction on the southeast side of the airport. There is an existing fence there that is degraded and grown up with with just the foliage just around the area. We're going to be using state and federal dollars to do the relocation of this fence and to rebuild it. And in order to do that, we're going to have to get into compliance with some separation between the runway and the fence. Right now, the fence is in a object-free area for the runway. Also penetrates an air surface associated with that. So the new construction requires some property acquisition along the adjacent to the airport to extend the fence out to get out of this area and separate it further from the runway. In addition to that, the state is requiring us to put in a 50-foot wildlife zone for the clearing as well. So that is the over-the-top piece of the runway fence project that we're in the midst of right now.
Anybody have any questions? You have any more?
No, I always like this opportunity because I've been on the airport manager side or the airport board side. I spent 15 years as an airport manager, and I always love coming to cities like this to have this conversation, to hear talking about downtown revitalization, economic development, working with the county. I mean, it's just you guys are making that. You're building more leverage to really arc and grow and bring jobs into communities. So just kudos on that.
Thank you for the kind words. Thank you. If you have your keys, you're more than welcome to leave.
I gotta wait for my ride.
Okay. I think Josh locked his keys in his car today, but I'm not going to tell him.
That was of interest. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Item number 3 on the agenda is the retail coach, Mr. Kyle Colfer. Come on up, Kyle.
Mayor, Council, thank you all for having me. It's kind of crazy to think that we're already through our first year in our 1-year contract, and kind of wanted to come today to talk a little bit about year 2, what that'll look like. But before then, kind of want to give a brief overview of, year 1, kind of the things we accomplished, and then kind of looking ahead to year 2. So in year 1, if you remember the first presentation that I gave, we went over a lot of data. A lot of community data, a lot of trade area data, cell phone studies, getting an idea of how many consumers are coming to Livingston, where they're coming from. It's really the base foundation of what we do, giving us the ammunition really to go out and recruit retailers and restaurants. So we knocked out all that data. We also focus heavily on site profiles, working with a lot of local property owners, a lot of local developers as well, because the first thing a retailer and restaurant wants to know is, hey, where are you going to put us? If they're interested in the community, they like the numbers they see, where are you going to want to put us? So we put a heavy focus on sites, as well as a heavy focus on meeting and conducting small business workshops for local businesses. A large majority of what we do is on the national retail recruitment side, but working with Shannon, we spend a lot of time with the local business owners. I gave 3 small business workshops over the course of the past year, and did 1 lunch and learn in this space specifically, and then did some outside one-off meetings with some small businesses there. So really what the purpose of those meetings were is to give small businesses the type data, the type information that the larger national brands have, give them some tips and tricks that we've seen other small businesses throughout the country kind of put in place, and show them kind of how that success has worked there. And then we focus on recruitment. So I think this is probably my 4th or 5th time here updating y'all. We still have 4 or 5 real-time prospects that we're working with heavily to try to get them to Livingston. In year 2, if we have a chance to work with y'all, I'd talk to Mayor and Shannon. We want to see some success in year 2. I want to focus heavily on getting these brokers, these site selectors to the market. In the car with myself, the mayor, Shannon. If we can get them on the ground here, it's going to be a much easier sell. We're also going to look at updating that data to 2023. We're going to do continued recruitment as well as working with local businesses, continuing that, as well as working with local developers and property owners as well. And then I also want to tell you we have an upcoming trade show in Las Vegas in May. It's ICSC. It's the largest retail real estate show in the country. So a lot of the prospects that we've been talking to are going to be at that show. So it's going to give myself a chance to meet face to face with these prospects to market Livingston specifically. So I've already had some meeting outreach sent, and so it's going to be full speed ahead on kind of sitting down with these prospects and moving the ball forward. So that's kind of what we've accomplished, as well as looking forward to year 2 and kind of giving you an idea of what that would look like. So happy to answer any questions.
So before we get into the question part, we need a motion and a second to renew this for 12 months. It'd be $25,000. It will come out of the DRC funds as part of our downtown revitalization. And I think Kyle and the retail coach has done a pretty good job for Livingston, and I think we've got some momentum going. And I'd like to continue to work with them for 12 more months, see if we can land something and continue to work with our small businesses here in Livingston.
I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Vice Mayor Ken Dotson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Rex Dale. Any discussion? Any questions?
Yeah, I do have a question, even though I made the motion. I assume that DRC and Chamber are both in favor of extending this?
Absolutely, the chamber, absolutely, yes,
Okay.
I can speak only on that.
And the DRC is as well, since it's coming out of their budget? Okay, just making sure.
Any other questions for Mr. Colfer?
I'd just like to know what kind of successes that we did have in the last year from the program, if you could name a couple.
Yeah, so brick and mortar new business, I'll be completely honest with you. We're seeing that cycle about 14 to 18 months from when we originally talked to somebody to seeing things happen. That's just the nature of kind of what's going on right now. So new businesses locate. We did not have a success in this first year, but we're having conversations now that weren't taking place at that point. And we're in a better position now. We've been working with local property owners, and we're pushing the ball forward in the right direction to have some success in year 2 if we have that opportunity to work with you. That's just kind of the time cycle that we're seeing of how long these deals are taking place.
Bruce, we've got a lot of data so far, and it's amazing by your cell phone how much you can be tracked. But they've showed us how far that when folks do come, and you can talk just a little bit about that, about how far their service area actually is. Talk just a little bit about that.
So your trade area is just shy of 50,000. So that's the population that we're going out and marketing based on running what's called a cell phone analysis. So basically we could go in and draw a polygon around, the downtown area, for example, and we can look at of how many visitors are visiting downtown as well as how many visits they're making. So, obviously a lot of those visitors are coming from outside Livingston's city limits. So that's how we know, okay, this is an accurate depiction of where these consumers are coming from. So we draw that boundary out. And that's what we consider your retail trade area, where you're pulling about 80% of your consumers from. So when we're going out and marketing Livingston, we're marketing that community or that trade area population at about 50,000. And that's kind of what's getting our foot in the door. And kind of what I said, that's kind of the base foundation of what we do to give us the opportunity and the ammunition to be able to talk to these retailers and restaurants and give them an accurate picture of really what the draw is for this market.
Thank you, Kyle. Any other questions for Mr. Cofer? Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Thank y'all.
On the floor, roll call vote, Ms. Phillips.
Alderman Elder,
Yes.
Alderman Dale,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dotson,
Yes.
Alderman Linder,
Yes.
Alderman Langford.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Motion passed. Thank you, Mr. Cofer.
Thank y'all.
Look forward to continue to work with you. Next on the agenda is item number 4, water leak relief. Mr. Ben Whitson. Mr. Whitson. Don't say anything bad about the Dotson.
I will do my best, but I've been fighting it the whole way down the mountain. So, yeah. Thank you guys for having me. I'm Ben Whitson with Water Leak Relief. We're in Crossville. I want to express my gratitude to everyone for trusting us for the last 2 years to do business with us and take good care of your water customers. So what that brings us to tonight is actually our first 2 years are up. So we're looking forward to doing business with you all for 2 more years. I'd actually presented just our one-page extension to Mayor Hayes. The one page just extends the term 2 more years. No price change, no terms and conditions change. Everything about the program remained the same for your customers. Just a quick update, since we started doing business with Livingston, we now also serve North Overton Utility, which is right here in Overton County, and East Fork Utility. We'd love to get West Overton as well someday. We're working on that. But as we grow, we're focusing on this area. Crossville is where we are, and it's kind of spiderweb from there. We do serve the entire state of Tennessee now, but this is one of the cities that we started in. So, we look forward to growing, but we're doing it here in Tennessee. I want to take care of towns and utilities just like Livingston. So I did also want to share a couple of key points from 2022. This is just shows the money that we put back into the budget for the city of Livingston. You had roughly 5,000 customers that were reported to us that we were serving, and so that's your water customers, but they may have also had the additional coverage on their line. And so that produced about $1,500 a month in additional revenue for the city, and we paid claims of almost $60,000. So the final total for 2022 was actually $77,250 that we helped put back in the budget for the city of Livingston. Now, January, February, March, as you all know, we went through the big freeze, and that hit us pretty hard. So respectively for January, February, March, we've already paid out $7,400, over $16,000, and then another $7,400 in claims for the city of Livingston. So we look forward to doing that for you all. That's what we're here for. And so we hope to get another 2 years with you all going forward.
Since we was kind of the pilot, is there some kind of bonus or something? The city of Livingston gets?
I would love to say yes, but right now is not the time to ask. We just paid a whole lot of claims across the state of Tennessee. But, you know, we do appreciate you all and hope to do 2 more years with you.
Yeah, Water Leak Relief has done a fantastic job partnering with the city of Livingston. I think all the clerks here, and I've talked to all of them, we don't have any opposition to renewing this. I think it's been a win-win for the city, and I think a win-win for Water Leak Relief. So it's certainly my recommendation to extend this 2 years. So I'll entertain a motion in a second, and we'll have more discussion.
I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Alderman Bill Linder. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman David Langford. Any discussion? Any questions? Hearing none, roll call, Ms. Phillips.
Alderman Dale,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dotson,
Yes.
Alderman Linder,
Yes.
Alderman Langford,
Yes.
Alderman Elder,
Yes.
motion passed.
Motion passed.
Thank
We
you,
look
guys.
forward to signing the paperwork. Item number 5 is engineer and agreement with Mr. Greg Davenport, G.R. Wofford and Company.
Thank you, Mayor. Good to see you all, Mayor and Alderman. I came up here to talk to you about several projects this evening. They range from automatic meter read through SRF to a CDBG project for work at the wastewater plant. Livingston has been very fortunate in the last 12 to 18 months to receive quite a few dollars in grant funds from what we call the Phase 1 COVID money through what we now call the Competitive American Rescue Plan grants through TDEC. Currently, Livingston in their non-competitive grant received $960,000, and the county was kind enough to lend their eligibility for another $689,000. So there's a lot of opportunity that comes with this money, but there's also some obligation that the city will have to fulfill in the way of matching funds. So what I'd like to do is go through each project and then see if you've got questions, move on to the next one. The first one is what we refer to as the ARPA water meter replacement project. That has a budget of $1.5 million, and that takes care of providing electronic automated meters at customers in Hillham and the Monroe area, along with putting in zone metering at strategic locations in the water system so that the operators can look at the data and determine if the flow through a certain line increased dramatically, then there's probably a leak on that line downstream of that meter. The way that the data is, recorded is the meter's always putting out a data signal. When a vehicle drives by with the recorder, the usage zips right into the handheld unit. This does 2 things for Livingston, in my opinion. It increases the accuracy of reporting, and it also helps Livingston with the labor issue of having folks go out and physically read these meters on the ground. There's liability issues related to that too, trip and fall, other things. So that project has been submitted to TDEC for approval. We are hopeful that at any moment we receive that approval. The money's already in an account ready for you to draw down once the contract is executed. It is a non-competitive grant, so if we meet these metrics with your project, you get the money. So your match on that is around $300,000. So you've got about $1.65 million with the city and the county's grant. You've got $300,000 in match. That adds up to be about $1.95 million. We have been successful in putting in the application a refund for the last project you did at the raw water intake, which is around $450,000. So immediately we plan on getting a refund for that money right away that comes into Livingston's account. The remaining 1.5 is to be spent on the Hillham and Monroe areas for the automatic meter read project. So that's a description of the ARPA funded component project. So do y'all have any questions related? You've already voted to pursue this. I'm just giving you an update. And Amanda Maynard with Grassroots is here. I think approval's forthcoming. We've already got the plans together, so as soon as we get approval, we're going to bid the job. That was either really boring or very concise and explaining. So the next project is the Every time I come up here, you bring his name up. So anyway, I appreciate it. The second phase is the ARPA project in town. Excuse me, the automatic meter read project in town. It is funded through a state revolving fund loan and grant combination. A lot of this thing was just kind of a fluid process. We had to put our name in the hat for SRF funds a year before the ARPA was applied for. So we applied for the whole thing through SRF. So they gave us $3.5 million, gave Livingston $3.5 million, and of that $3.5 million, 1.4 is a grant and 2.1 is a low interest loan. Now, most everybody sitting at this, serving on this council now understands most of the time you don't get a grant from SRF, you get a low interest loan. So to get 1.4 million was really an accomplishment. We're going to turn the plans in on that project, and what the scope of that project consists of is in town every water meter gets replaced with a new automatic read water meter. So the same system. It's an addition to what we're doing at Hillham and Monroe. They drive by, it records, it goes into the database, it zips right into billing. One exception is due to the density of the residences in town versus in the rural areas, we are going to put acoustic sensors at every other meter. And what they do is they go off if the underground sound profile changes and they send a signal out. Now what that does is usually when you have a water leak, it makes some sound. It may be something we can't hear, but it's underground. One of the ways guys find water leaks is they listen to the valves, see if they're vibrating. So if you have two sensors go off, the leak's probably between those two sensors. So a lot of this project is for accounting. Meters don't run faster with age, they run slower. So if you have a 10-year-old meter, you're probably giving them more water than they're paying for. The second thing is to find leaks quicker, and the zone meters help with that as well. So that project is a $3.5 million budget. $2.1 million of it is loan, $1.4 million of it is grant. We don't expect that we're going to use all that money. We're going to come back to you at a later date and get your approval to enter into those loan agreements. So the way SRF works now, you have to prepare all the plans, all the planning documents, submit everything, and then they will send you a loan agreement. Any questions on that component of the work? The third project is another SRF project, and it's for a new pump and screen at the raw water intake. When we did the last raw water intake project, once again, we applied for SRF funds. We didn't know how much grant we were going to get. They come back a year later and they gave Livingston $560,000 in grant and $240,000 in loan. So that's a pretty sweetheart deal to get 2/3 of your deal in grant money. So we're going to get a third pump, change out one of the old pumps, and we'll have almost a brand-new pump sitting ready in case something happens. Now, that's been a line item in your budget for years, is that third pump. So that satisfies a line item in the budget. The other thing is, when we did the last project at the raw water intake, we didn't have enough money to put a new traveling water screen in, and that's what keeps leaves and sticks and debris out of your pumps. So that's a component of this project. Any questions? Again, these plans will be turned in May 31st to meet their deadline. I don't expect this to be bid anytime soon. Y'all all know SRF takes a while to review things. It could be several months before we obtain approval. The fourth project, and one of the reasons Amanda's here tonight to talk to you about, is a project at the wastewater treatment facility. And what that consists of is a $450,000 community development block grant application for a $750,000 project. So it's $450 in grant, $300 in loan. You all are pretty familiar with CDBGs. We've been working with CDBG in Livingston for 30 years. This project consists of new decanters in the SBR basins, which were originally installed in 1992, and renovation of the grit chambers, which is new adductors and electric valves and aeration systems to keep grit out of the main biological process at the plant. Those were also installed in 1992. So that project, we are simply preparing an application for that. The funding will not be announced until probably sometime this fall. We wouldn't design the project till a year from now, and it would probably be bid in the summer of 2024. So really what I need this council to take action on tonight is 3 items. The first item is our engineering contract to prepare the design for the SRF automatic meter read project that they're due in May. We've already got going on it because it's got to be turned in time. The second is our engineering contract for the raw water intake improvements that are SRF funded. That's the one that's got a $560,000 grant and a $240,000 loan. And the third item is a resolution to apply for a $450,000 community development block grant for Gerald Walker and Company to prepare the application at no charge, and for grassroots planning to do the administration work at no charge until the grant's funded.
Okay, you've heard Mr. Davenport from J.R. Walker and Company. We need to get these agreements approved, and the contracts that Mr. Davenport just brought up. So we need to get a motion in a second and then have further discussion.
You need separate motions for each of the 3 items he's talking about, or will one motion cover? I'll make the motion to approve the 3 contracts.
Motion made by Vice Mayor Ken Dodson to approve all the contract agreements with J.R. Walker and Company. Is there a second?
What was the revision? We got one.
Bruce, I gotta have a second before we can go on the discussion. If you'll second it, then we can continue. Okay, second by Alderman Bruce Elder. Discussion, question, Mr. Elder.
That revision from where we had.
Can you push the button, Bruce, please?
Sorry. The revision from our packet, from what we had to what it is as revised, it was 630 and 120 from the CDBG, from 630 to 450, and then the minimum grant requirement 120 to 300. I don't know what's the.
I'm glad you asked a question, because I thought I wasn't going to get to talk. Greg just talked so much, I thought I was going to be left off the agenda. What that is, I was actually reviewing, I was working on the application this past week, and 630 is the maximum amount that we could apply for. But if you think, we only have 1,704 sewer customers, okay? So, of course, these grants are highly competitive. And with that few of number of customers, I do not feel like we would be competitive at the $630,000. So we would like to reduce the grant amount that we are applying for to be more competitive. So I feel like the 440 would be more competitive, so that we would actually get funded.
So is that less favorable or more favorable? I mean,
It'd be more favorable, is what you're saying.
Yes,
Yes,
very,
okay.
very much more favorable, yes.
That's what I wanted to know.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions? We have a motion and a second. Okay. I think Greg explained that well financially, on where the money was coming from. And we, in the event, this is all going to be taking place in some of the agreements far down the road that, any locals, we do have money from our regular ARPA grant for a match of $200,000, and so we should be in really, really good shape. So, and these contracts are going to go over the 23-24 budget year, and only possibly in the 24-25 budget year. So this any money that we will be due will be coming out of the next 24 months. It's not going to be a lump sum of money. These projects are important, folks.
So you're saying what was budgeted this year will come out, then you'll rebudget next year?
And then the next. Yeah, and, but these projects that Mr. Davenport has talked to you about, Jerry Dale's not here tonight, but Eric Ramsey is here, Jack Parrott is here. We discuss the issues with water loss almost on every Monday morning, and how important it is that we get this under control. And these mechanisms that are put into place is going to be a major shot in the arm for the city of Livingston Water Utility District, without question. As far as work, nobody has sweated more than me and Jack Parrott when it comes to the raw water intake sitting down at Butler's Landing. It is just and to be able to have a extra pump sitting down there in the event that something happens is just, I don't know how to express how happy I'd be. Jack, what about you? I'm with you. So, and then the infrastructure that we'll be doing out the wastewater plant, I mean, Greg, the numbers, this was there in 1992. We're in 2023, folks. This work needs to be done. So, anyway, that's my spiel. We've got a motion and second on the floor for these agreements. Happy to roll call for this, folks.
Vice Mayor Dotson,
Yes.
Alderman Linder,
Yes.
Alderman Langford,
Yes.
Alderman Elder,
Yes.
Alderman Dale.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Motion passed. Anything else, Mr. Davenport?
No, sir. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you all.
Thank you. So item 5A is for performance service. Mr. Brian Stone, if you remember, we had Mr. Stone.
Did you pass that resolution as well? Okay. Oh. I didn't realize you were in between. I thought I was going to.
Program here, man. Mr. Brian Stone is here with Performance Service. If you remember, we allowed him at no cost in the city of Livingston to go around and see how we could be more perhaps energy efficient with some of our things at the water treatment plant, wastewater plant, and other places. I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Stone. Take it away.
Thank you very much. I realize I'm standing between everyone and the national championship, so I will try to keep it under 10 minutes. So if you'll remember, we came and our goal was to identify operating and energy savings for the town of Livingston, what we could do. We approached this very much understanding that water loss was a priority and there were other projects in the priority for the city. So we tried to build this report that would supplement those, be additions to those, and not get in the way of your current projects of what you're doing. We also understand that you guys have partners, engineering partners. We are not trying to become an engineering firm for the town of Livingston. We want to work with these groups in anything we go forward with. So to say that, we started off and found a couple of different things. We've grouped them in this report in two different sections. One are high return on investment improvements that either have really, really good payback or take something off the capital improvement needs in years to come. So some examples of that would be things like LED lights, which are no-brainers, quite honestly, building controls, which is a better way to control the heating and cooling of your system, building weatherization, so seals, doors, all that stuff. The others are things like VFDs, variable frequency drives. Some of this we do need more investigation on to make sure that it can be done at the water plant and the sewer plant. We believe that there may be an opportunity, even if we can slightly reduce the speed of some of that major equipment, you'll see major energy savings. Lastly, on the sewer plant, you guys don't have a SCADA system, a supervisor control and data acquisition system. So we feel that if you put in all these new pieces of equipment, that type of system, which you do have at the water plant, will become very useful. So all these things in that are self-funded. We believe that they will have more savings than the cost over a period of time. The last is what we feel will supplement what you're currently doing with your water loss issue. We've got some new technology that we can actually fly a drone over water lines using infrared and thermal cameras and identify leaks without having anybody walk the actual line. So it's a much faster, cheaper, easier way to identify water lines. You guys have, I don't know, 80-something miles of line in the city, and from the raw water intake, this is a much easier way to identify larger leaks, and we can do that on a very quick basis. So that's also included. We have not assumed any savings with that. So that's just something that we said that would be a benefit and would supplement your current programs, okay? The last is solar at the water plant. The biggest reason this is included in this report is the Inflation Reduction Act. There's a provision in there that actually refunds 30% of your solar cost. So while you may see $2.3 million in there for solar at the water plant, you'd actually get a check back from the federal government for about $700,000 of that cost. So not only would that cut the utility cost of your water plant by 60%, you'd also get that money back. So we've included that. All of these things, by the way, I'm not asking for any decision tonight. What I would ask is that you go and review this report and allow me at some point to come back and either speak with you individually or in a work session or whatever it may be and have more detailed discussion. Make sense? I'm happy to answer any questions. These are the things that we found. I'd just like to come back at some point and discuss them individually.
So you brought up the possibly solar panels at the wastewater.
At the water plant.
At the water plant. Did you, just curious, would it not work at the wastewater treatment?
There's some space limitations, so there's only that kind of sloped area up on the east side or the west side of the sewer plant. There's not a ton of space, and we didn't feel that the cost to implement that solar at the sewer plant would justify the small amount of return. So we looked at all the pumping stations, we looked at the sewer plant, we looked at a number of other locations. The only one, as we saw it, that made financial sense for Livingston was the water plant, because you've got the space and because you've got a rate structure that would support it.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Any questions? I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions for Mr. Stone?
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a safe trip and enjoy the ball game.
I'll stay a little bit.
Item number 6, resolution by Ms. Amanda Maynard, Grassroots Consulting.
I think at this point you're very familiar with this resolution. Mr. Davenport has explained it all well to you. I will add just a bit of the time frame. You know how the CDBG works. Like we were saying, we've been doing this for 30 years. We submit the application next week. They're due the 14th, and then we never know exactly when the governor is going to make announcements. We are hoping sometime between August and November. But then by the time we get our contract signed and the environmental review complete, it would be next year, next spring, even next summer, whenever we started to actually bid the project and spend money. So.
Need a motion for
Motion
that.
to approve. Second.
Got a motion and a motion by Vice Mayor Ken Dodson, second by Alderman Ragsdale. Any discussion? Okay, you, as Ms. Maynard says, Mr. Davenport has explained this resolution very, very well. So, roll call vote, Ms. Phillips, on this resolution, please. Thank you.
Alderman Lander,
Yes.
Alderman Langford,
Yes.
Alderman Elder,
Yes.
Alderman Dale,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dotson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Motion passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Maynard. Item number 7 is hire Patrick Melton as the chief mechanic down at the city garage. Of course, Patrick is taking the place of Mr. Kenny Smith that passed away here a little while ago. Patrick, I put a panel together with the senior supervisors of the city of Livingston. We got some applications, and we came back and recommend Mr. Patrick Melton to do the job as chief mechanic at Livingston City Garage and on all of the vehicles and equipment. That's our recommendation.
Motion to hire.
Motion to hire Patrick Melton as chief mechanic for the city of Livingston. Motion made by Vice Mayor Ken Dotson. Is there a second? Second by Alderman Bill Linder. Any discussion? All for the motion, let it know by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion passed. Congratulations, Mr. Melton. Item number 8 is our computer/server quote, Police Chief Ray Smith. Come on up, Ray. Chief Dow, you're going to tag team this. Come on up, Rob. He threw you under the bus, I think. He did. Backed it up, too.
So what we've run into is we don't have a lot of backup on our computer system over there. We applied for a grant through our insurance company. We got awarded $1,500 grant to pay for part of it. But we need to update our storage for backing up our computers up.
Not only will that back up the computers too, it's also going to back up the body cam footage that we have that we store for evidential and for just day-to-day use also. And it takes a lot of data to hold back a lot of video.
Okay. What's the extra expense? Is there extra expense?
Everything is supposed to be in that bid.
Yeah.
There's 2 parts there, one for the server and one for the storage device. There is some SQL license that we did bid that was up in the air as whether we needed them or not. I think it was around $2,500 for the SQL license. That will be the last thing that will be purchased if it's needed. If it's not, it will not be purchased.
Okay, so this is to authorize in this quotes that we have, and it is, the money is budgeted for, I've got it for, yeah,
there's 2 different sheets. You got both, or you got the grand total on one.
I got 95, 81, 25.
What's the 25? Is that
So the 98, or excuse me, 95, 81, 25, and one is 64, 25, $6,425, and we need both of these, right?
Yes, the one for 60 something, there's a $2,500 SQL license on there. That is up in the air as to whether that is actually needed or not. One person says it is, the other says it is not, so we decided we'd just wait to see if it was actually needed.
Okay. I don't know, I don't see that on here, Rocky. Come up here and look at this.
6425. The third one down.
The one that says 2156?
Yeah.
Okay. Thought he said 25.
I
was holding him to that number.
I was just going off from memory from 2 weeks ago.
All right, so we need a motion to accept, let's do these individually, this $6,425. Need a motion to accept this one for the, and this will be for police/fire department, public safety, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. I'll entertain a motion to approve the $6,425. Motion made by Alderman David Langford. Second by Alderman Bill Linder. Any discussion?
Yeah, who's going to decide if we need this SQL server or not?
I knew that was coming.
We have 2 different computer people working on it, and we have the camera people working on it as well.
But it's not gonna go past 64.25. In
No.
fact, it's probably gonna come in cheaper.
Yes.
We hope.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Roll call, Ms. Phillips.
Alderman Langford,
Yes.
Alderman Elder,
Yes.
Alderman Dale,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dotson,
Yes.
Alderman Linder,
Yes.
motion passed.
Motion passed. Also need a motion for the not to exceed $9,581.25.
So moved.
Motion made by Alderman Rex Dale.
Second.
Second by Alderman Bruce Elder. Any discussion? No questions? Roll call, Ms. Phillips.
Alderman Elder. Alderman Dale,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dotson,
Yes.
Alderman Linder,
Yes.
Alderman Langford,
Yes.
motion passed.
Motion passed. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Item number 9 is accept the lawnmower bids for the water plant. We got 2 bids in, and the low bid is Mountain Farms, $11,949. The other bid is full mower service, $12,261.75. Need a motion to accept.
Motion to accept.
Accept which?
The low bid.
Motion to accept Mountain Farm at $11,949. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Dale. Any discussion?
It is the same mower, right? Both
It
bids.
is the same order we've got on the, yes, absolutely. Roll call, Ms. Phillips.
Alderman Dale,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dotson,
Yes.
Alderman Linder,
Yes.
Alderman Langford,
Yes.
Alderman Elder,
Yes.
motion passed.
Motion passed. All right, need a motion to have a surplus sale April 14th, at 12 noon, City Garage, on these following items. You have a list of the items. All the departments have went through their surplus and is ready to send these out for a auction, public auction.
Need a motion?
Need a motion to accept this list for sale at public auction.
I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Alderman Bill Linder to accept these items as surplus, for surplus and surplus sale at a public auction held on April 14, 2023, 12 noon at the City Garage. Or second?
Second.
Second by Vice Mayor Ken Dodson. Any discussion? All for the motion, let it know by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign, motion passed.
Who handles this auction?
John Billings will be doing the public auction. John Billings will. Is there anyone here who would like to address City Council? Hearing no one, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Bill Linder, second by Rex Dale. All for the motion, let it know by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign, we're adjourned.